Hi, welcome to Infused Eats, the cooking show where everything is infused with cannabis. Even me, your host, Matt Lamb. Today we're making Cannabis Infused Hummus. Now here's what you're going to need to make Cannabis Infused Hummus. You're going to need about a half a cup of sesame seeds, 2 cloves of garlic, 1.5 cups of cooked garbanzo beans, a quarter cup plus 2 tablespoons of garbanzo bean liquid, a quarter cup of lemon juice, a third cup of activated cannabis infused olive oil, we'll talk more about that, a teaspoon of ground cumin, a quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. You can also find this recipe on Infused Eats, and you can also find our recipe on how to make cannabis infused olive oil in some of our previous videos. I'll be sure to put links in the description and also on the video. Now let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is to prep our garlic. We're going to need to toast 2 cloves of our garlic. So go ahead and peel 2 cloves of garlic. And then we'll set those aside and get those ready to toast in a minute, because we're going to toast those alongside of our sesame seeds. So take our half cup of sesame seeds, put those in some sort of shallow oven-safe dish. And you just drop your cloves of garlic right in there with the sesame seeds. We're going to toast those together in the oven, 15 minutes at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, or until they're nice and golden brown, the sesame seeds. And in the meantime, I find that a convenient time to go ahead and prep the rest of the ingredients that we need prepped, such as freshly squeezed lemon juice. So go ahead and squeeze out a couple of lemons, or 1 large one to get at least a quarter cup of lemon juice. And then we're also going to need to go ahead and prepare our garbanzo beans. I'm using a can of garbanzo beans. This is a situation where it's fine to use a can of garbanzo beans, but you could also get some dried beans, cook them, reserve the stock that you cook them in, and use it that way. But go ahead and separate out your juice of your beans from your beans themselves. And about that time you get all that done, you're going to have your sesame seeds toasted nice and lightly brown, and your garlic as well. And I'm going to let that cool off for a minute. I find it cools a lot faster if I take it out of the hot glass dish there, put it on a paper plate. And also this paper plate will be useful in a moment. Okay, those are nice and cool now. We're going to go ahead and start preparing our hummus. And what we're actually making now is a tahini sauce, or it's a sesame seed sauce. So we're going to go ahead and begin with our sesame seeds, and I'm going to go ahead and pulverize that garlic in with the sesame seeds too, just to give it a little bit of moisture to start binding together. I'm using my Ninja because that's the blender that I had available. You could also use a regular household blender, and you could also use a food processor for this. So you're going to process those until it starts to get gummy and thick. And you'll see they start to break apart and they start kind of binding together. And at that point, you can start introducing some of the oil. We're using a total of a 1/3 cup of oil in this recipe right here, but I'm not going to add it all right now. What I want to do is make a tahini paste first. So I'm going to add in just a little bit at a time. So go ahead and measure out your 1/3 cup, and then take a tablespoon, or a couple of tablespoons of that actually. And we're going to go ahead and put it down into the sesame seeds that are beginning to be ground up. Now you might find that you could just add it all in there and get it to whisk together, but I find doing it this way, it gets it a lot more smooth with the sesame seeds, because it's hard to get them all to break apart if they're just bouncing around in the water. So pulverizing them first and gradually introducing some of the oil to get it thicker and thicker into a paste, kind of like it's almost like a really thick peanut butter at this point. I'm going ahead and scrape down the sides to get everything down into the pan. I'm going to add in just a little bit more oil, about another tablespoon and a half there. And I haven't added all my oil. I've got about a tablespoon or so left of the 1/3 cup that we're using. Okay, so you can see now in the top of the frame there, you see that it's liquefied now and it's smoothing out. And we have a very kind of smooth but nutty, it's almost a peanut buttery smell. It's really delicious, that tahini. So I'm not going to season that tahini. I'm just going to go ahead and start at this point continuing with the recipe. So I've got our tahini base in there. I've added in the garbanzo beans, the dry beans. And now I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of the garbanzo bean juice, and then an extra 2 tablespoons. And you could lower the amount of juice there if you prefer a thicker hummus than you get with this recipe. The next time you make it, you could use a little less juice. Now we're adding in the lemon juice. I'm adding in the remainder of the can of butter. Make sure you scrape all that out of there and get all of your, I'm sorry, that's not can of butter, it's cannabis olive oil. Okay, and then now we're adding in some good quality cumin powder. Get some nice fresh herbs there so you get good seasonings. That was cayenne pepper, and then some salt. And depending on how much salt you like, you may want to adjust down a little bit of the salt. I found out mine was a little bit saltier than I wanted. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and start pulverizing that in the blender or a food processor. And if you're using a food processor, it'll take a little bit longer. It only took a few pulses with this Ninja because the blades run so fast, but I did have to mix it up to get some of the tahini that was in the bottom mixed back down into the rest of the recipe. So I took that off, mixed it up, put it back on there, just a few more pulverizing bursts in the Ninja there, and it was done into a nice smooth consistency. Again, this is another thing where you could keep pulverizing. If you want it to be smooth like silk, you could just keep pulverizing until it's more smooth. I like something a little bit heartier feeling like that, so I went with that consistency that you see there, which is just almost smooth, but just a little bit below. So delicious. This recipe is so simple, so healthy, and easy to do, especially if you already have your cannabis infused olive oil. If you don't have the cannabis infused olive oil, it's not hard to do that. You'd make it just like you do butter by decarbing. Make sure that you have fully activated your olive oil. And then when you're ready to serve this, you can chill it, and when you're ready to serve it, I put smoked paprika on top and a little bit more of the activated cannabis infused olive oil. What a delicious treat. I hope you try this out, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please leave a thumbs up button. And also leave us a suggestion on a recipe that you'd like to see me make with infused cannabis. And please subscribe to RuffHouse Studios for more cannabis culture videos made just for you. This is Matt from RuffHouse Studios. Thanks for watching.